Ugh, okay. It is 9:55 a.m. on Saturday, May 27th. Technically not the end of the month. May is not over, but I don't anticipate making any significant progress on my projects that I'm going to talk about before the end of the month. So this is essentially what I knit in May. Also, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Kendra, this is balancedskein, and this is where I talk about all of the things I make with yarn and other yarny related topics. Also, let me know what you think of this new background situation. I'm home alone, so I took advantage of an empty living room. Empty? Leo. But we have a friend with us. Say hi. Have I become one of those YouTubers? Oh my God. Hey buddy. This is the first video this year I've been able to record without some type of artificial light. How beautiful is that? Anyway, let's get into it. Today's video is pretty casual. I didn't make any notes. I don't have a lot to share in terms of finished objects. I only have one, and then I have 4 WIPs that I want to share. The WIPs I have going, 2 of them have deadlines, and I anticipate that I'm going to be coming down to the wire in June because I have a lot of projects that I want to get done by the end of June. So we'll talk about that later. First, in terms of finished objects, I finished a pair of vanilla socks. It was these were a WIP in the last video, and I finished the second sock in the month of May, and it is my May sock. So if you don't recall, I have a goal this year of knitting 1 sock every month so that by the end of the year I have 6 pairs of socks to add to my hand knit collection. Although this pair of socks ended up being a gift for my uncle, so technically it's not in my collection, but nonetheless I am still on track to knit 1 sock a month. And yeah, so that's the only finished object that I completed. And I couldn't tell you what yarn it is. I lost the label months and months ago. The pattern I used was the I'm So Basic Socks by Summerly Knits, which is my go-to vanilla sock pattern. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. So let's talk about works in progress. And I'll stay on the subject of socks. So I finally, I've definitely had an urge to cast on new things, but I've actively resisted in terms of socks. And I thought before I start a new pair that I would finish my Alma Socks that I started over 2 months ago now. So this is the first WIP I have to share. This is the second sock of a pair, and I knit this first sock in March as a part of a test knit. And so the second sock is going to be my June sock. I have made a considerable amount of progress. This will be finished in June, so this will count as my June sock, but I think this is the first time this year I've worked so far ahead before the month even started. So I am about 1/3 of the way through the heel flap here. Plan is to get this done in June to stay on track for my 1 sock a month. So yay. The yarn is a hand-dyed yarn from Miss Pearl. She had a collection of hand-dyed yarns that was dyed by Distortion Fibers, and the colorway is Leia. The second WIP I'll share, I'll talk about this one. So this is an interesting project. This is a dress slash swimsuit cover up. I started the process of recording sort of a process vlog. I'm ashamed to admit how many times I've started or even completed an entire project vlog that I decided would never see the light of day. This might be one of those, but we'll see how it goes. Right now, this project is on pause, but I did cast it on in May. And it's quite a statement piece. I don't know how much I want to share about this, but it is, it's a dress. It will be a halter dress. So the straps will come around the back here and tie, and maybe I should stand up. This is what it's looking like so far. There are some increases in the main fabric along the sides here to make room for the hips. And this piece is going to wrap around the back here, and it'll be sort of like a midi length, and I'll seam it up the back. The yarn I'm using is Bernat Softy Cotton. Let me get closer. The yarn I'm using is Bernat Softy Cotton, and I mean, there's no point. I don't have any labels. I don't have any labels left to show. This yarn is actually frogged from a project I made a couple of years ago called the North Cap Cardiana. I think I had my YouTube channel at that time, and I believe I talked about it in a podcast episode. It was a pattern test, a crochet project. And yeah, a couple of years ago, ahead of my trip to Belize, and I brought it with me to Belize, and I used it as a swimsuit cover up. But for a number of reasons, I decided that that piece wasn't exactly what I wanted for the purpose of a swimsuit cover up. So I decided to frog the yarn and knit this piece. So this is inspired by a store-bought dress from a website called Somersault. I'll pop in a screenshot of like the inspiration behind this particular project. And yeah, completely self-drafted. I sort of knit a gauge swatch, got my gauge, measured various points in my body, and figured out how to incorporate the shaping and everything like that. The edges here are double knit, and the main fabric I think is called a witch's ladder lace pattern. So I'm not sure how well you can see it, but if you look at the inspiration picture, I wanted a lace pattern that sort of mimicked the vertical lines. Like, the inspiration piece is actually crochet, and I wasn't really interested in crocheting this piece, especially because to get those vertical lines, I would have to crochet from side to side, which I think would have made it a lot harder to customize things like length or any type of shaping. And I wasn't confident enough in my crochet skills to be able to replicate that specifically, but I was more confident in my knitting skills. So I took some time to figure out what type of stitch pattern would kind of achieve that vibe. And I considered like brioche, but I thought brioche would be too squishy and heavy for a piece like this. And I looked up a lot of different simple lace patterns that might work for this piece, or like mesh lace patterns, but this is the only one that gave the visual effect of the vertical lines. And it is a very, very simple stitch to achieve. It's just a series of knit two togethers, yarn over, knit two together, yarn over, and you're doing the same thing on the front and back side, which I really appreciate. A lot of the traditional mesh stitch that I found was a series of 4-row repeats, and your yarn overs and knit two togethers are sort of offset on each row. And 4-row repeat is too much to keep track of. I'm not confident in reading my knitting when it comes to lace. So I figured there was a higher probability of me screwing it up. And I just really appreciate, again, the visual effect of the vertical lines, as well as how simple it is and that you're doing the same thing on the front and back side. So yeah, that's what this is going to be. I have some decisions to make in terms of what type of edging I'm going to do at the bottom, as well as if I want to add anything to this top part here, maybe another horizontal double knitting section. I'm undecided. So this is 100% freestyled. I didn't reference any existing knitting or crochet patterns to figure out how to do this. All of the shaping is just sort of from my own brain. It feels really good to do stuff like this. I've self-drafted patterns before, but this, I've never self-drafted anything like, I've never made anything like this, period. I've never knit or crochet a dress at all. So this is uncharted territory for me in a lot of ways, but I think every technique here are things that I've done before. It's just combining them in a way to achieve a specific vision. And sometimes that's the biggest challenge. I'm happy with how it's turning out so far. At this point, I think my biggest hurdle to get over is just making sure I can get it done before I go to Jamaica on July 1st. So this has a hard deadline of being done before I leave for that trip. The next work in progress. So this work in progress was spontaneous. So Andrea Gone over, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce her last name, Andrea Gone Knits over on Instagram. She is a new designer. She has a few designs and I've been admiring her work for a while. She posted a test or a call for test knitters for this pattern and I applied and I got picked. So now I'm doing a test knit. It is the Galax Tank and it's a bottom up V-neck tank top with pretty wide straps so it will conceal a bra strap, which I really appreciate in a tank top pattern. And it has a really cool lace and I think these are called nup stitches motif up the middle of the front and back. This is unblocked fabric, so it's probably not doing it justice. But yeah, this is where I'm at. I started this about 3 days ago and the deadline for this test knit, I believe, is July 9th, but I'm gonna be going to Jamaica from July 1st to the 9th or 1st to the 8th. Either way, the deadline I'm setting for myself is the end of June. So this and the dress I want to have done by the end of June. I think I can do it, but we'll see. And yeah, the yarn I'm using is Hobby or Hobie, as I've been known to call it, baby cotton, 100% organic Egyptian cotton. And the color is 10. Which I believe on their website is called Eucalyptus. Really pretty color, really soft. It doesn't have a lot of drape, which I find is the case for cotton, especially the lighter weights. It just kind of has this stiffness to it. I don't know if that's going to change with blocking, but you know, at the end of the day, this is what I had in stash, so this is what I'm using. But if I were to choose a yarn to knit this in, it would be something that has a bit more drape to it. I think the pattern is designed with the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. I've never worked with it, but I'm assuming it has a bit more drape. So that's kind of one thing I would say there. According to the yardage estimates, I have enough yardage to complete this piece, which I have 4 balls of this yarn, and in each balls is 50 grams and 186 yards. But the thing about a test knit is that we're the first group of people who are knitting it, so the yardage estimates are truly estimates in the sense that nobody until now has knit the size that I'm knitting. So it could very well turn out that I don't have enough. It could turn out that I have a generous amount. Who knows? I'm not even gonna try to guess because I'm notoriously bad at estimating whether or not I have enough or too little yardage. When it comes to long tail cast-ons, when it comes to sewn bind-offs, I am either grossly overestimated or I fall just short. I can never really hit that sweet spot. I think worst case, I will have to buy another ball to be able to finish this. I hope it doesn't come to that, and there's always a risk of dye lot issues or them not having this color in stock anymore. I have not checked their website. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But at this point, I'm prioritizing knitting this as fast as I can so that if it comes to me having to buy another ball, then I'll have enough time to order it, have it delivered, and finish it ahead of the test deadline. So wish me luck. The fourth and final WIP that I have to touch on a bit is the ward sweater. I didn't even bother bringing it in here. It is not done like I said it would be last month. Yeah, I just got more excited about the warm weather knits that I just shared, so it is what it is. But I did finish the first sleeve, and I believe I took a try-on pic that I'll pop in. I finished the first sleeve, so at this point what's left is finishing the second sleeve and the collar, and then I'll be done with all the knitting. So that's on hold until further notice. I probably won't touch it again until July, if I'm being totally honest, at the soonest. So that's all I have in terms of an update on that project. That's all I worked on in May. Let's do a quick tally of the no-buy updates. Let's go through the stats. So I finished one project this month, and the yardage I'm adding here is an estimate based on 400 yards per 100 grams of sock skein or sock yarn. That's kind of what I'm basing this on. So I weighed the pair of socks I finished, and I used about 80 grams in total, which approximately amounts to 320 yards used in May, which brings my total yardage used this year to 5,447. And my total impact for the year is 4,590 yards net impact, net reduction of stash this year so far. So yeah, I didn't finish as much as I would have liked this month, but that's okay. I'm still working through my stash, and I know in the end the numbers will add up and I'll be really happy with my progress. So as I mentioned, the dress, the swimsuit cover up for myself, as well as the test knit that I'm working on, I have a deadline of the end of June for both of those projects, which still have a considerable amount of knitting left to be done. And I also want to knit a swimsuit cover up for my mom. I mentioned this in the last video or the video before that, but she bought some yarn for me to knit this thing for her, and I'm happily doing it. It's just that I might have bitten off more than I can chew. And I think the thing that is kind of screwing me right now is the test knit. The spontaneous decision to sign up for this test knit. If I didn't have that on my plate, I would be more than capable of getting the dress as well as my mom's swimsuit cover up done in June. But now I have the added deadline knit of the test knit. And so in June, I want to finish the dress, finish the test knit, start and complete my mom's swimsuit cover up before June ends so that they can be done before Jamaica. So I think I can do it. I'm toying with the idea of doing a bit of a project vlog to document my month of knitting in June to see how successful I am with those deadline knits, but we'll see. So yeah, I have some speedy knitting ahead of me in June, but I think I can do it. And I guess in the next monthly video, you will find out. Yeah, that's all I got. I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.